Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 1 through 22, if you got your Bible with you. And this is some concerns of the believers. All right, we're going to start out reading verses 1 through 8. The Levitical priest, the whole tribe of Levi, shall have no allotment or inheritance within Israel. They may eat the sacrifices that are the Lord's portion, but they shall have no inheritance among the other members of the community. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. This shall be the priest's due from the people from the oath offering a sacrifice, whether an ox or a sheep. They shall give to the priest the shoulder, the two jowls, and the stomach, the first fruits of your grain, and your wine, and your oil, as well as the first of the fleece of your sheep, you shall give him. For the Lord your God has chosen Levi out of all your tribes to stand and minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons, for all time. If a Levite leaves any of your towns from wherever he has been residing in Israel and comes to the place that the Lord will choose, and he may come whenever he wishes, then he may minister in the name of the Lord his God, like all his fellow Levites who stand to minister there before the Lord. They shall have equal portions to eat, even though they have income from the sale of family possessions. All right. So the first concern, there's four concerns. The first one, I guess, is okay. It's all right. I thought she was coming over here to correct me already. I just got started. All right. The first one is the dedication and support of the ministers of God. I wonder how many people are concerned about that one. It's always awkward when you go to scriptures that mention the ministers and all that type of stuff anyway, but here we are. The law covering the ministers, or the priests, as they called them in the Old Testament, were restrictive. They didn't receive a portion of the promised land. The other 11 tribes got the land. They were to be supported by the offerings that the people gave to the Lord. The reason for this should really touch the heart of every believer. The Lord was their inheritance. They were to focus totally on God, so they didn't get a portion of land. They got God. I always thought that was a pretty neat thing. The minister is to receive an adequate living, according to verses 3 and 4. But what did they receive? The first fruits of the offerings. There's two reasons to support the ministers. God has called them, and they minister in God's name. Ministers who moved or had wealth. A minister has the right to move, and they were to still receive their share of the offering. And it says the same thing about wealth. I personally don't know any ministers that have wealth, but I see some on TV every once in a while. All right. Yeah, YouTube. If you watch YouTube on TV, then I guess I am on TV. Yeah. Yeah. The minister of God has been called to serve the people of God. Amen. So they must be faithful and committed to their call to serve the people of God. Serving ever so diligently, the people must support their ministry if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Of course, that goes with probably without saying, but I guess we should clarify that a little bit. So any thoughts on supporting the ministers? Was anybody concerned about the support of the ministers? All right. 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 Yes. Yes, the first fruits of offerings, like the meat offerings, the burnt offerings that they were allowed to eat, they got the first fruits of that. Jan, be nice now. No, that would be a first fruit, yeah. Yeah. to you. Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. Right. We don't think about it because we don't do the sacrifice stuff no more. But it was a big job for them to have to do. Okay. All right. Verses, we're in, um, Darcy, we're in Deuteronomy chapter 18. If you're watching on YouTube, Darcy just got here. And we're glad she's here. So it's better to show up than to not come at all. So, or just to be here late. So we invite you to come out. If you get here 10:15 Sunday morning, come on in. You might not still be the latest person, but I ain't gonna call him out back there. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. When you come into the land that the Lord your God has given you, you must not learn to imitate the abhorrent practices of those nations. No one shall be found among you who makes a son or daughter pass through fire, or who practices divination, or is a soothsayer, or an augur, or a sorcerer, or one who casts spells, or who consults ghosts or spirits, or who seeks oracles from the dead. For whoever does these things is an abhorrent to the Lord. It is because of such abhorrent practices that the Lord your God is driving them out before you. You must remain completely loyal to the Lord your God. Although these nations that you are about to possess do give heed to soothsayers and diviners, as for you, the Lord your God does not permit you to do so. So the second concern is the world of the occult. So, a lot of people will point to and say, because people that they of Israel came there, they had to wipe out all the nations that were there. Well, this is explaining why God was having to do that. And the very first thing was they offered their kids as sacrifices. Obviously, not all of them, because then they wouldn't have any adults there. But they offered their kids as sacrifices. That's what they burnt, kids as sacrifices. So that was part of the reason why God wanted all them people out of there, because of the crazy things that they did. So we're not supposed to follow the occult, child sacrifice, sorcery, witchcraft, casting spells, things like that. Are things that as Christians we should be avoiding, especially child sacrifice. Okay. These things make a person detestable in the sight of God. God wants nothing to do with these type of people. And it arouses the judgment of God, as sin does. That's what sin does. It arouses the judgment of God. So we must reject the occult, the things, sorcery, witchcraft, casting spells. And if you want to go back through there was a lot of things that were mentioned there besides the 3 or 4 that I mentioned already. So is there any thoughts on that type of stuff? I wonder about going back and just looking again about horoscopes or stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I've always heard not good, but I'm looking here just to see if it was in this particular list. It was or wasn't? Okay. So, yeah. Yes. What's them things? Those Ouija boards. Yeah. Fortune cookies. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So the people of Canaan did all these things, and that's why God wanted them eliminated from the scene, I guess. All right, verses 15 through 19. This is an interesting one. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own people. You shall heed such a prophet. This is what you requested of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when you said, if I hear the voice of the Lord my God any more or ever again see this great fire, I will die. Then the Lord replied to me, they are right in what they have said. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their own people. I will put my words in the mouth of the prophet, who shall speak to them everything that I command. Anyone who does not heed the words that the prophet shall speak in my name, I myself will hold accountable. All right, a permanent prophet to replace Moses. How many of you are concerned about that? Was you worried Moses might not get replaced? Okay. All right. So what it's, in case we didn't all get it, Moses is prophesizing about Jesus Christ is his ultimate replacement. So that's important. I think I referred to this in Sunday sermon, or maybe it was last Wednesday. I can't remember now. Or maybe it was last night even. When he was talking about reason God Jesus is rejected. People don't listen to they don't listen to the prophecies. They didn't understand the prophecies about Jesus. So yeah, this was it from last night. This is the scripture I was referring to. I like how God works. All right. So he gives the assurance of a new prophet. The people must listen to him. The threefold work of the new prophet: mediator between people and God, Jesus. A spokesperson for God, Jesus. God agreed to the people's request to do this. They asked for a Messiah to be sent, and he sent Jesus. It comes with a strong warning, though. Heed the words or face judgment. And we know that to be true. Because if we hear the words of God's Son and we don't listen to them, we will face that judgment. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, non-Christian, whatever you think you are, we will be judged on what we said about Jesus Christ. Do we claim him as the Messiah, our Savior, our Lord? And the question it has to be answered to that is yes. Amen. Amen. Because in Jesus' day, the religious leaders were looking for this prophet. It was looking for this prophet. And in the book of Isaiah, another prophecy about Jesus Christ, it describes this the Messiah and all the details. You know, what were the Israelites thinking that, or the Jewish people were thinking that the Messiah was going to be? Yes, a warrior type person. Well, when you read the prophet Isaiah and his prophecy, it clearly says that that's the opposite of what the Messiah was going to be like. And so when they didn't listen to the prophets, they decided this is how the prophet or the Messiah will be. This is what we want from him, so this is how he's going to be. It was the exact opposite. But we still do the same thing to Jesus today. We want Jesus to fit in the mold for our sake instead of the Jesus of the Bible. In John 1:45, Flip over there real quick. Give me a sec. Forgot I was doing that. $145. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him about whom Moses in the law, also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth." So Philip declared Jesus was the prophet that Moses was talking about. And then I wrote this. In yesterday's study, we saw where Jesus declared this. So if I just waited, I'd have known when I said that. So, got ahead of myself. All right. So is there any thoughts on that? On Moses? There's a lot of prophecy, of course, about Jesus. And one of my favorites is found in Daniel. Daniel actually prophesies about him and tells when he was going to come. And that's just it's an amazing thing that Daniel's prophecy said this is when he'll be here, and that's exactly when Jesus showed up on the scene. So pray a lot. God might show you something. Any thoughts? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, what we're about to get to, the false prophets, you might say. Yeah. At verse 20. That's the fourth concern, is false prophets, starting at verse 20. That's what he was doing. Yeah, exactly. It's some people say, as defense of the Jewish people, that 2,000 years later, we can look back on it and say, there it is. Yeah, how could you not see it? But they had all these. They had all these. The writings of Moses they held in high regard, yet they didn't read it with understanding. So it's just interesting to me. Of course, I'm a pastor. I find a lot of this stuff interesting because wow, that'll preach. Yeah, yeah. And then up to age 12, that's what they did. And then the ones that showed exceptional ability were, to keep going, became a Pharisee or a Sadducee. So, all right, let's read verses 20 through 22. Okay, there it is. But any prophet who speaks in the name of other gods or presumes to speak in my name a word that I have not commanded the prophet to speak, that prophet shall die. You may say to yourself, how can we recognize a word that the Lord has not spoken? If a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, but the thing does not take place or prove true, it is a word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Do not be frightened by it. I like how they added that. Don't be frightened by it and all that. So our fourth concern is the false prophets. And it gives another strong warning, 2 signs. They proclaim a message that is not from God. And they're speaking in the name of another God. How can we tell if the message is from God? By the outcome of the message. Did it come true? The charge against the false prophet is a strong indictment and warning because it's a man-made message, not from God. Their message will not come true. False prophets are everywhere, both in and out of the church. Churches are attracted to personalities. There's only one true message. God cares so much for us, He would never leave us in the dark. This is the reason He sent Christ into the world. Any other message is false. So He sent Christ into the world to bring light to the world so we wouldn't have to live in the dark, especially about the things of God. You know, so... It's interesting that, because we normally call them false teachers today instead of prophets, but how false teachers can pull people into their thing, and it gives, even though it gives us in the scriptures the two things to know. Of course, I guess you got to know the scriptures to know if it's a message from other gods or that He's speaking in the name of other God. So you got to know the scriptures to be able to figure that out, to see the two signs. Yeah, yeah. They're giving a message. Yeah, giving a message of false hope. They. Yeah. But it's a hope that the person that falls for it, it's a hope of something they're hoping for. Whatever their issue is that maybe they're facing in life, and they give them a false message of hope that, you just come with me, this is how it's going to be, that type of thing. Especially those cults that live behind walls. Yeah, yeah, that's it. They give you something you like to hear, yeah. Because a lot of times when you get a true message, it's not something we want to hear. It's not, but it's something we need to hear, but it's not something we want to hear. Yeah, Bob. No. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts about this fourth concern or any of the concerns? I I I think there's false teachers. I there's a preacher. He does 3-point sermons. He says, do this, and this will happen. And what's to happen is always something good. Something good doesn't always happen because life is not always good. And he's famous. Thousands of people attend his church. He smiles funny, but that's a false teacher because if you the script, he'll take a scripture and say do this and do this, and the third point, so always it's going to turn out good. I'm sorry if you like that particular preacher, but to me that's a false teaching. And we're going out live, but I would call there's largest, fastest growing semi-Christian denomination. They love the state of Utah, and to me that's teaching false stuff. I don't like to call other people out like that, but to me that's teaching false stuff. I mean, golden underwear and stuff. I mean, yeah, yeah. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, that's again, that's funny how Scripture works. How it all comes back together like that. thoughts? Yeah. Poor Matt having to hear all your thoughts over. All right. Would anybody like to? Oh, yeah. Would anybody like to close us in prayer? Okay. Thanks, Frank. Frankie. Thanks, Herb.